Episode 5 of Ahsoka was insane. Hayden Christensen hasn't missed a step. He's got even better at playing Anakin, which I didn't even think was possible. He somehow managed to blend the prequels Anakin with the Clone Wars Anakin seamlessly. He made jokes like the Clone Wars Anakin with the right tone, the right voice, and he somehow made it feel like the prequels Anakin always felt like the Clone Wars Anakin. He blended both interpretations into one character, making them feel like the same character, which was never the case before. It did not really feel like they were the same, mainly personality wise. Everything else, of course, they were very similar with. The way he bridged the gap between both interpretations cannot be looked over. His acting was phenomenal, and in my opinion, this is his best acting as Anakin, which says a lot. And that's why we love Hayden Christensen as this character. He's yet to be surpassed as the best and most believable when it comes to the fight choreography, from his speed to his power to his overall skill and even to his face expressions. He's still got it, and the way he performs fight scenes just shows the difference between Nick Gillard's choreography from the prequels and all the choreography that we saw in the sequels and basically anything Disney up until this point. The difference between Hayden Christensen's skill with a lightsaber to all the other actors is just wild. He just knows how to make the fights believable. He really does look like he's trying to eliminate the other person. You can feel the weight of his fight scenes. His performance during the duels alone adds tension to the scene more than any other duel that he's not a part of. His skill during his fight scenes stole the show, and it's crazy to remember that his performance in these battles in this episode was the norm in the prequels. It was just normal, everyone was on it, everyone had the same skill set, everyone was highly able. The casting for young Ahsoka was as good as it could have been. The actress did a great job. The performance and the casting was never going to be perfect, but I, like many others, were highly surprised at how well this actress pulled off the animated version of Ahsoka that most of us thought would not be possible to recreate in live action. Especially her fight scene. I don't know if that was the same actress or it was a stunt double, but she was moving fast, the strikes looked lethal, and it definitely looked like she belonged in the prequels era. Now, for everyone who was saying up until this point that Ahsoka had no emotion, which I don't disagree with, the problem I've had with this show and the way they've portrayed Ahsoka felt kind of off to me. She's never been this emotionless. But anyway, without going down a rabbit hole, many people had a problem with how Ahsoka has been portrayed in this show, but now we finally know for sure that that was on purpose by Dave Filoni. Throughout the whole show so far, she's been wearing the grey robe, which represents that she's not in the right place mentally. She's still holding on to the past, but then in this episode, after everything that happens in it, she comes back with the white robe, and you can tell instantly that she has much more emotion. She's smiling more, she's not just straight-faced with her arms crossed, and that was really great to see, because like I said, alongside many others, this was also an issue to me, although not a big one, but it was just one of my gripes, and so I'm happy that that's been resolved. We saw Rex, finally in live action. It was a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. It was so great to see him, and it only made sense. If we're going to see young Ahsoka, we have to see Rex. I just hope that next time we see him, we see more of him, interacting with Anakin and Ahsoka. But other than that, it was a great cameo. And who else to include him than Dave Filoni? We just need to see Tamira Morrison under that helmet. But speaking of cameos and fan service, as people like to call it, yes, Disney Star Wars has done this a lot before, where they include meaningless cameos into their shows, but the fact that I've seen people call Anakin Skywalker in this episode meaningless fan service is ridiculous. Anakin is literally the master of Ahsoka. All of her character progression, everything she's learned up until this point has been with Anakin or by Anakin. The character of Anakin Skywalker is tied to Ahsoka more than any other character, and even what they did in this episode was directly attached to all the issues Ahsoka had from the beginning of this show. Anakin in this show conveyed so much emotion and just so much pure Star Wars. Dave Filoni doesn't do anything without meaning. There's always a purpose to what he does, unlike most of the other stuff that we've seen from Disney Star Wars up until this point. So basically, Anakin being in this episode was not just fan service, it was meaningful, and it was very obviously so. So I really do not understand where them people are coming from. So yeah, overall, this was a 9.9 out of 10 episode for me. It was just amazing seeing Hayden back, and especially when his acting is at this level. I just really did not think that we'd see Hayden Christensen's best performance as Anakin years and years later. Now, I just want to mention some negatives, considering no episode is perfect, even one as good as this. These are more like nitpicks than anything, but still negatives nevertheless. The first being that Rosario Dawson just cannot perform fight scenes as well as everyone else in the show, and it's very obvious. During her fight scene with Hayden, for all the shots that she didn't have to do much in or wasn't in at all, there were less cuts and the fight looked a lot smoother. You can really see her slow movements, and it's to the point where you see Hayden have to slow down or wait for her to get in position so that he can make his next move. I mean, there's even times where they cut twice during one movement from Rosario Dawson just to try and make it look more smooth, and it just doesn't work. You can really tell the difference between her and Hayden Christensen, and honestly I feel like they should have sped up her movements to make it flow a lot more, because like I said, every time she performs a move it is so noticeably slow and makes them cuts look so inconsistent compared to the rest of the fight. The second one is that some of the camera work was a bit janky, and I know that Dave Filoni is new to directing live action and he still did a really good job, but there was literally just a couple of moments where I saw some of the camera work being a bit weird, like when Anakin cut the floor underneath Ahsoka in the World Between Worlds, which was an awesome shot, but right after that it cuts to where Ahsoka is just face down on the floor like a cartoon character, and it was just so weird. It did not look right, and I had that feeling with like one other moment, but like I said, these are nitpicks, so it doesn't affect anything for me at all. These things were just distracting in the seconds that I noticed them, and to be honest it shows how good this episode was, because that's all the nitpicks I have. I don't really have a real negative for this episode, and that says a lot about what Dave Filoni was able to do. All of the vision for this episode was him, from the writing and the directing. He just knows exactly what to do, and this is what happens when Dave Filoni is put in charge of Star Wars. Anyway, in conclusion, this episode and the rest of the Ahsoka show is that pure Star Wars that us huge fans have been waiting for so long. Everything Dave Filoni has done has gave us this feeling, and now he has made a live action show that gives us the same feeling. 9.9 out of 10. Amazing episode. In Dave Filoni we trust. If it isn't Dave Filoni, it's baloney. What did all of you think about this episode? What did you agree with me on? What did you disagree with me on? What's your opinion on the episode overall? Let us know down below, and I'll see you on the next one.